Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, a podcast where me and my brother Charlie talk about English ice hockey, specifically the National Ice Hockey League. We're joined again by Dan. Lads, how are you doing today?
Good.
I'm all good.
Not too bad, yeah. I've got my Pepsi Max. It is back, so I'll give that a little tap and we'll open that. I'm guessing you two don't have drinks.
Nope.
Nah, no
Nope.
drink.
Um, um, yeah, shall we crack on straight in with the news? There's a few bits. The first one is Bristol's new import, and the Raiders one, which we did mention last week. They both had their first weekends, and I think it's fair to say it's just going to take a bit of time for them to settle in the league, isn't it, lads?
Yeah, 100%. The Bristol one, I think, is obviously going to be a bit harder as well because of the scenario that he's going into.
Yeah.
The whole team is struggling. I think obviously Ericsson's joined at quite a good time for Raiders. They've
Yeah.
started to pick up a bit of form. They're starting to get a few players back, but yeah, it's always going to be tough as we've seen from imports and they've joined in the off season as well.
Yeah.
So
One
it'll be
one thing
interesting to
though,
see how it goes.
the Bristol guy, he did have very good points in the U Sports League, and Charlie, you pointed out it was better than Colby's and Labuele's when they were in there. So he shows that he can score points, can't he, Charlie?
Yeah, it's a difficult one with that Bristol team. Because I find it difficult to see where they make playoffs. So he's kind of just got to come in and on an individual level, just try perform,
Yeah.
get some results for them, sell out crowds. Then for Raiders, they had to bring in another import, and we just hope this one stays and settles in.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a few weeks. It took a few weeks when Colby come in, so I'm no doubt, and Colby's fantastic. So yeah, we'll give them a few weeks, see how they do. Let us know after watching them what you guys think of them. There was a couple signings in the week, some re-signings for Swindon, and I think these are absolutely massive. Chris Jones and Eddie Bebris have re-signed for the 24-25 season. I'm absolutely buzzing with that. I love Bebris. He got the overtime winner yesterday as well. I'm so happy for him. And Jonesy as well. He's so underrated in what he does. And he's the kind of player which every team would want in that team because he can play all across the lines, defensive and offensive. Dan, what did you make of the re-signings? Because we do it quite early, don't we?
Oh yeah, every season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're a really good re-sign. I think all the ones that you've re-signed so far are really key players for your team. And they've had a really good season so far as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jones, I'm obviously watching him more this season. I've noticed how big he actually is of a player in that
Yeah.
team. And he, like you said, he can literally go across all lines. He's so composed. He's just so good. All round game is just
Yeah.
amazing. And then obviously Eddie Bebris as well. I've noticed him quite a bit,
Yeah,
but
you can't not
he,
notice
he's
him.
al- he's always the guy that just gets the puck off the guys. He always just pushes him over, just with like a little shove, and he just solid.
Yeah.
I've said things before about him peeing him forward and stuff like that, but indeed he's just as good.
Yeah, Charlie, he's obviously changed to that D man, and he's probably, I'd say, our most important one in terms of how he eats up all the minutes. And he's just so reliable at the back. And I always feel comfortable when he's defending. How huge is it have to have him next season, especially with Whitfield moving on? It's nice to know that he's going to be with us next season 100%.
You just know these players are coming back.
Yeah.
It just Swindon's the place you want to play at. We sign players and we keep them for their career.
Yeah.
Um, and it's credit to the organisation as a whole. Is we sign Chris Jones from Cardiff. He has to do a decent drive, from what I know, every time. He comes down and he's enjoying his hockey and he plays every week. And Bebris went up to Milton Keynes, was like, "Nah, I don't want to be there. I want to be back in Swindon."
Yeah.
And he came back. And I think Swindon's a great example of an organisation where people want to play there. They want to be here. They want to be playing for Swindon. And when they are here, they stay here. And that's such huge credit to the Nows that you can keep top players like this. And to be honest, I can't imagine they even sniff at other contracts now. It's just like, Nally, I want to be back and we're coming back. And for Swindon, it's two huge players. Like you said, a D man who sucks up so many minutes. Bebris is a D man. And I've not heard anyone comment on that recently. Everyone shut
No.
up because Bebris is a good D man. And we've got the firepower, and Bebris deserves to be one of the best D in the league.
Yeah.
And then Chris Jones is he's debatably took it up another level this year.
Mm.
And I love watching that guy. He just does all the simple things right, and then has some exceptional goals throughout the year.
Yeah, Aaron loves Jonesy. He can rely on Jones, and he's actually quite underrated on the power play as well in what he does. And he's been up on our power play first unit, I think, for the last 5 years. So you can see how much Aaron trusts him. And Aaron actually told us an interesting stat, Charlie. I haven't forgot this. We're the only team in the league not to have released a single player, and we've not signed a single player during the season. Every other team has either released a player or has signed a new player. We've kept the same squad the whole season. And considering, Charlie, that you made a really good point on why you think Aaron, one of the best coaches in terms of keeping the squad together, because we've went through that whole time with the rink not even having a rink, and the whole team stuck together, didn't they?
You can call me biased or not, but I'll say the opinion I said the other day on it. I'd give Aaron now coach of the season right now. I don't care about all of this trophy rubbish. No.
Oh. Oh, he doesn't care about the trophy rubbish. I think what he's trying to say, basically his point, if he comes back, I'll let him explain it. Oh, Charlie, you lagged a bit. Go on.
Sorry.
So you were saying about you
Yeah.
I know
So
about all the
Aaron
trophies.
Aaron now, doesn't matter about the trophies. The fact we played 3 months on the road and we kept every single player in our roster. We then came out of that 3 months of just away games without losing a player, and we then qualified for a cup semi-final. We'll see what happens in that, playing one of the best teams in the league. Then we've still managed to be third in the league. The credit now deserves, but won't get, and he won't really care that he doesn't get it, of the fact he managed to keep these boys motivated and on track. For me, there's no coach in the league who could have done what he did in that scenario. And you can tell the boys are stronger than ever. They've come out better than ever. And for me personally, Aaron now, what a guy. Swindon organisation.
I think, and I know you talked about trophies. Remember, we're still in a cup semi-final and we're still in a shout for playoffs. Hopefully we can get over that duck of not getting playoffs and we can get there. And we're still in with a shout. We've got the squad to do it now. So yeah, I think massive credit to Aaron. I think coach of the season for me personally goes to Aldridge at the moment, but we'll see come the end of the season. That could completely change, but I completely understand your point. We'll move away from Swindon for a second. Witkowski got a 6-game ban, but we didn't know until 2 games into this ban in the cup semi-final. So Leeds were without Witkowski, and Venus got a 2-game ban as well, which he served this weekend. So he didn't play in the games for Milton Keynes. But of course, he's back for the semi-final, which is brilliant. But yeah, just again, I know we've ranted so much, so I'm not going to go on it for ages. But come on, Dops, man. Like, you're not doing the video footages now, which you did promise at the start of the season. Dan pointed that out. And it's just such a delay in these bans. And I think Harvey Stead's been given a 9-game ban for what was quite a bad check, but 9 games. That is literally 1/5 of the season, 1/6 of the season, which is mental. And he's already been out for 8 games. So yeah, I just think it's a whole mess and it needs to change next season. So that's all I'm going to say on it, because I know we've ranted a lot about Dops. And yeah, we don't want to keep this negative. Hello, me and Charlie have had to come back because since recording that first podcast we did, there's actually been some more signings across loads of different teams. And Charlie, we're going to have to start with the big one, which is MK. You've got another signing, and they actually made it on the last day of where you could actually make signings, and that is Nathan Ripley, Elite League player with Coventry Blaze. You might remember he used to play for the Sheffield Steel Dogs, and he scored a few goals for Coventry. I think he got a hat-trick as well in one of the games that he played for him, his first hat-trick. Charlie, what was your first reaction to that signing? Because I assume he's going to be playing tomorrow as well.
You know, it increases the pressure on MK. It's all on them. We've not made one signing since the start of the year, and they've made about 42. So the pressure's on them. The pressure's on them this year. They have to win something. It's a good signing. I like Nathan Ripley. I don't think he's going to tear the league alive with points, but he may have improved that much. But I think he's a really good 2-way player, clever hockey head on his game. He'll be on the second or third line for them. He'll pick up points. He'll add depth to them. So it's a good signing. I'm not going to deny it. It's a bit frustrating they've done it before the game as well, but MK will keep signing players. They'll do a good job. And it's a good pickup for them. It's going to increase their number and depth, and they have got some longer term injuries from what I've heard. So picking up a player like Nathan Ripley, it's not bad getting an elite league drop down, is it?
Yeah, well, they have the money to do it, and I'm sure if any team was in the position they are, they would do exactly the same. With a couple of injuries, I did make this list though. Even with those injuries which they've got, they still do have 60 men and 12 forwards, so they could go into the game still full strength, 4 lines if they needed to. But obviously Ripley is going to be massive for them. I don't know what line he's going to play on because he's only just come into the team. But as you said, he's a really good two-way player. He's going to be a very intelligent player because he's been playing in the Elite League, and maybe he's that calm body which they need to get over the line with winning a trophy. Charlie, that's my take on it. I think it's a very intelligent signing.
MK have the players to win a trophy. Like even before Ripley, they have the team. They have it. Like Thursday will be a great game, and whoever wins, fair play to that team. Like I'm excited for it. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses saying MK buy this or that, but MK have the paper, the team to win trophies this year. They had it from the start. The pressure is on them to win something. They probably should win something, and adding a player like Nathan Ripley does just ramp up that pressure. You have to win trophies, and so it's a great signing. Fair play to them. Tim Wallace is good at getting players down from the Elite League. They have lots of two ways with the Elite League. They've got good relationships with clubs. And like I said, good luck on Thursday. I'm excited. We're recording on Wednesday, so tomorrow. I'm terrified, but if we lose, we lose. You know how it goes. If we win, I'm buzzing. But this signing obviously is going to help them. It's going to bolster them. And so it'll be a great game. And good luck.
Yeah. Good luck. It's a great signing. But
again, they signed so many good players. Like,
yeah, they do.
It's not going to deny it. When you've got Rutkiss, Max Stewart on your third line, and you've got players like Ben Brown who are chilling on third, fourth lines, like they are a depthy team. They have got the depth. They are a really solid team on paper. So they've built a good team, and if it does end up winning a cup, fair play to them as well.
But since Swindon have signed someone, it's not someone new, but we have signed one of our favourite players this season, Glenn Billing, on a 2-year deal. Not 1, 2 years. That is fantastic news. Glenny has been so good this season, and I actually put a tweet out on our Macca's Talk Hockey saying that he was underrated. And people were going at me saying he's not underrated. Everyone rates him, but I think he's surprised us even more of how good he actually is and what an impact he's had on our team, Charlie. And yeah, what a 2-year signing that is. And we know Aaron loves signing players early, but that's one we would have said, right, we need him for the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think he's completely underrated. I disagree with people who say he's not. I hear no one talking about this guy in the league, and he's one of the best British centres. Even take away the British bit, he's one of the best centres in this league. He'd get on every team's top 6, pretty much every team's first line, most teams' power plays. The guy is a joke of a player. He is so good at hockey. And to get a British centre who's going to be going into his prime years for 2 seasons is amazing. I can't wait to watch Glenny. He is a gem.
Yeah.
He's a gem of a guy, gem of a player. I can imagine he's amazing in the locker room. And honestly, this signing is just crucial to Swindon Wildcats. Crucial.
Yeah, we've signed 4 players now. I'm sure Nelly will stay on, which will make it 5. So we've got Aaron, Chris Jones, Bebris, Billing, and Tyler Plews. That is not a bad first 5 signings for this season. I'm sure Aaron will carry on what he's doing and making those signings early. Another player who signed a 2-year deal. Wow, there's 2 more actually. We'll start with Bobby Chamberlain. Obviously, he's back in his hometown in Hull, and that's huge for them. Whoever's got Bobby Chamberlain on their team is gonna get goals no matter what, aren't they?
Yeah, we knew he was going to stay in Hull. He wasn't going to leave. He loves it there, man. There was periods at MK where I felt his head wasn't fully in the game, but since he's been back at Hull this year, every game he's fighting for the badge. He loves the team. He absolutely loves it. He's there because he loves Hull. No other reason. He loves that team to bits. He wants to win silverware. They're a good team. He's going into his prime years again. Now, one thing I like about Bobby Chamberlain is he has a huge plus side. Obviously, he has that chip on his sleeve, and he can be an absolute madman at times. I describe him to players like Matthew Kachuk or Brad Marchand in the NHL.
Yeah.
He's got that chip on his sleeve. He loves playoff hockey. He loves knockout hockey. Knockout hockey is his bread and butter. And for Hull, Matty Davies is doing some good core signings there. I'm sure they'll wrap up the likes of Lee Bonner, probably
Speck again.
Barmer will chill over there, Towner, Brutton. They'll get their core together, and they've got a really strong core, which is a strong brick core, which wins you trophies at the end of the day. Salem as well, maybe Finley Uric. So they keep this core together. They're only going to be one of the top teams for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think you've described it perfectly. I think it's so easy playing for a good team who's now competing compared to them last season. They're now competing this season. And he literally lives, 10, 15 minutes away. So it's a no-brainer. The fans love him. They've got a really good fan base as well. So, yeah, Bobby Chamberlain, 2 years. And the final one, which has come out today, is Reece Cochrane, 2 years in Bristol, Charlie. And I know there's been I'd say a negative season for Bristol, but that's something nice for the Bristol fans, knowing that they've got a top player, top young lad for the next 2 years, and it kind of gives them a bit of comfort that at least some players do want to stick around.
It's a great signing. Bristol, that's a great signing to get. They lost Reece Kelly and Ben Soldier from their D-core last year, and Ed Bradley this year. So just wrapping up in my opinion, their top British D-man at the moment in their D-core, wrapping them up for the next 2 seasons means that they just have a little bit more solidity in their defence, and they can look to improve on it next year, which I'm sure they will. And it's a really good signing. He's very passionate. He loves a chirp.
He's a chirper, isn't he, on the bench?
And it also says a lot of players aren't that interested in going back to the Elite League. He's happy in the National League. Even though he's on a national team which isn't winning, he's still happy in our league. Yeah. And I think it does send a message that a lot of these Brits are like, you know what? I'd much rather be in the National League and get given opportunities than play in the Elite League and get given nothing. So I've got a lot of respect for him. It's a great signing for Bristol's core. And I think they're planning to do obviously what we talked about with Swindon signing their brick core, Leeds signing their brick core, and Brown and Gospel, Hull signing their brick core. They want to make their own brick core, Bristol, because that's what wins you titles, is having these players who stick with you for 5, 6, 7 years, and they're the core and the heartbeat of your team. And he definitely could be one of them for Bristol to kind of get that mojo for them.
Yeah, we won't lie as well. Me and you have had a conversation. Obviously, Stevie Whitfield is moving on from Swindon. He's retiring at the end of the season. Reece Cochrane did pop into our conversations if Swindon were to get someone in. So the fact that Bristol can lock up a player like him I think it's really good for the club, and hopefully it brings a bit of positivity around Bristol fans, because I know it's tough at the moment, but I'm sure next season it's going to be a lot different. They ain't gonna have a season like this season. I think there will be a lot of changes, and the start is signing Reece Cochrane. So yeah, those are the little signings. We thought we had to come back and talk on them because they are 4 quite big signings. And yeah, we're absolutely nervous for tomorrow, but we'll head back over to previous Jack, Charlie, and Dan. Let's move on to the big semi-final, though, which happened last weekend. And the Hull Wreck-It Seahawks are through to the cup final after beating Leeds twice, not once, twice. And they beat him in their own backyard as well. And Charlie, your stat went a bit viral on the Twitter. You recognise that Leeds have not lost back-to-back games this season, and Hull were the first team to do it. How about that, Dan? That is quite some stat, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was a perfect timing for them to get into the cup. I think they were just cooking on everything. Every player was just cooking. We had Bartholomew literally getting goals for fun. You obviously bring in Sobchak. I think you can't really look over that signing now. I think I saw a stat earlier. I think it was like 16 points in 5 games.
I've literally got it up now. So the stat is Owen Sobchak, 5 games, 4 goals, 12 assists, 16 points, 3.2 points per game. Now, I'm not saying that's going to carry on for the rest of the season. But that is phenomenal numbers and a big impact, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I mean, we did say when he signed that you'd see a totally different subject to what he saw in Bristol, and we knew he could do it.
Yeah.
And I think it just shows that a team can really change a player. And he would have been loving it last night against Bristol.
Yeah, Charlie, what was your initial reaction to when Hull managed to do it? Because we saw them play before they played Leeds, and wow, they were good, and they must have been even better against Leeds. Flipping out.
Yeah, I thought Leeds looked like they probably hadn't turned up in some of them games. They're a better team than that, and they will be a bit disappointed. But Hull really turned up. They took it on. They played well. I'm excited to see how Deck and analyzes it.
Yeah, that'll be good.
But yeah, I think for Leeds, they do show they're quite a league team. They lost the cup as well last year, and I know they're dominating English hockey really in the National League. But they have struggled in the National Cup a couple of times, obviously getting beat by Peterborough 5-0 last year, and then struggling against Hull as well. So credit where credit's due to Hull. Leeds will just give them more motivation to go win the league.
Yeah.
And it means that Leeds can't do the treble. It means there'll be a new team winning a trophy.
Yeah.
And so it's only good for the league to keep the competitiveness, and hockey and Hull will be booming.
I've got a quick unpopular opinion. I don't think some Leeds fans are going to like this because I only relate this to some. I think this has kind of hit reality to some Leeds fans who've watched Leeds when they've won it all. I think it's kind of a reality check that there are some other teams in this league who can battle against you, and Hull is one of them teams, Dan, and it's kind of a bit of a reality check. I've no doubt that the Leeds team are going to smash it for the rest of the season, and they got a massive win against a good Raiders team the day after, which shows really good character. But I think it's a bit of a reality check, is it? Because they didn't win the cup last season either, did they?
No, I think a few fans are going to be like, okay, now we've actually got a few teams that are competing with us, and it gives you you get that bit of doubt now going into games. You know, like you don't go into games anymore thinking we're going to win this game. Obviously, if you're supporting them, you say that, but in their heads, they're like, yeah, we're not really the dominant side anymore. There is like, a lot of wins going around that you just wouldn't expect it this season at all. And we did predict that before the season started because all the teams closer. We did say had improved, and we were right with most of them. And there's been a lot of shock results going around. So yeah, a lot of teams have that in their mind, I think.
But I also want to put my hands up and credit Leeds because none of us actually in our pre-season predictions put Leeds to win the league, and they're looking like strong favourites. Now, they did make a couple of additions after we made that initial prediction, but fair play to them because they have kept that consistency. And yeah, we'll see if they can go on and win the league, which I have no doubts it will, and the playoffs as well. As I did mention, they did get a really big win against the Raiders at home, and that must have been quite a reliever kind of victory for them, wouldn't it, Charlie? Especially because Witkowski ain't going to be able to play for a few games as well.
Yeah, they were never going to lose that one. I'll be honest. They're not losing.
You did predict that. You did predict that, actually, Charlie.
They're not losing 3 in a row. Yeah, it was weird games for Leeds. Their fans did need a bit of a reality check. I'll be honest. I thought a lot of them handled the loss pretty rubbishly on Twitter and social media. Like, come on, you can't win everything. Like, I say how it is. Like, there's a lot of salty fans out there, and you need to understand that the National League has other teams and that you can play. But the fans who took it well, I appreciate that, and the players took it well as well because they came out the next day and they showed how good they were.
Yeah.
And it gives them, like I said, that more motivation to beat Hull in the league because they've got 4 games, I think, left against Hull. And Hull have had their number this year. So MK fans, they'll be licking their lips. Leeds have got us, I think, 2 more times. Hull like 3 or 4 more times. So Leeds have got the pressure on them. They've got to win some games. And I'm very excited to see this end of the season league race. And I think the Leeds fans will appreciate the league if they win it even more after not getting through in the cup because it will just be that sweeter feeling.
Yeah,
so I think
100%.
It leads to keep them focused on the league.
Yeah. And then obviously you got the playoffs as well. Right. Oh, the whole game on the Sunday, Bristol took a 2-0 lead, and we're all like, oh no, it's a 2-0 lead. They've done it too early again. And up pops Owen Sobchak against his former team. He didn't just get one, he didn't get two, he got a hattie, Dan. And wow, that is just that. I don't know what celebration he did. I'm looking forward to seeing the highlights, but that is some statement in it.
Yeah, we were laughing. All of us were laughing when we just saw it as Sobchak, and
Yeah.
then we were like, we just knew that was going to happen. Then we saw he scored again, and then he scored a hat trick. We were like, oh yeah, we just knew that was going to happen. And I can't wait to see the celebration because I bet he had something up his sleeve ready for that game.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bristol, you can't expect to win a game with 17 shots. Like it's just straight up throughout a whole game, 60 minutes. You can't win games like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you think you can literally concede nothing, and it's still not good enough. Like 17 shots in a whole game. Like what did Hull have? Like 46, something like
Yeah.
that. I mean, it sounded like Norton's still in his head, to be honest, like he always does.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just throughout the whole team, it's just not good enough at the moment.
It's
I don't
tough,
think.
isn't it? I think we're going to see a lot of changes next season, and yeah, Charlie's right though. They obviously brought this import to try and change something and maybe get some momentum going into next season. But give Hull credit though. They came back from 2 down. I know it is Bristol, but still to come back from behind against any team, and that's their 9th win in a row. They are picking up some form, and they'll be going into games now thinking we can beat anyone. And I believe they did that, Charlie. Was it without Bonner and Chamberlain as well, who didn't play?
Yeah, they did it without them. Yeah, I do think it's a bit bitter for Bristol because in the nicest possible way, I don't really know what went on with the sub chat thing. No one does. And if it was not a nice thing, which it could have been, if it was a nasty ending, I do feel slightly bad for Bristol, if I'm being honest. Just because it would feel a bit bittersweet if he wasn't the greatest towards the club, and he did get kicked out. But on a whole point of view, they're rolling, man. They're going, they're cooking. I've said it, I think, on a podcast in the past. Deck Barmer, I know he's coming on the pod, but he is one of the best D men in this league. For a Brett, having him on your decoy, he's a joke. Offensively, he's a joke. Defensively, he's a joke. And he's just that guy anyone would take on their team. And they had a rough patch maybe 5-6 weeks ago. They did struggle. They went through the nitty gritty period, and now they're getting the rewards of thriving now. So that sub chat signing has helped give them that little bit of boost to get through that cup final and get to the cup final. Sorry. Now for Hull, how long can that train keep going? Because that's what they're going to want to keep doing.
Go on to the Sheffield Steel Dogs and the Bees, because last week, Dan, we were talking about how this could be the chance for Sheffield to pick up a couple of points, but they've only come away this weekend with 1 point, 2 losses, an overtime loss on the Sunday, and they were leading that game 3-2 as well. And up steps Balaz, or was it Gabaj? Was it Balaz? Either way, them two are an absolute joke, and Balaz got the overtime winner, assisted by Gabaj. Their top players have stepped up this season, haven't they?
Yeah, Balaz especially.
Yeah.
Obviously following on from the Bison season last year, and then coming into Bees as you could say, top guy really.
Yeah.
Like, totally different role to what he had in Basingstoke, and I think he's taken that role exceptionally well.
Yeah.
I think he's been a great little signing for Bees, and like me and Charlie were saying, I've always rated him throughout the Bison season.
I got to give you credit because you said he can go up gears 100%.
Yeah, I've always rated him. I think obviously some fans don't see some ways that he can be good, but I think if you really look at him, you can really see the points that he's unreal at, and he's showing it a lot this season at Bees, and he can show that he can score points in this league, and it's maybe he needed that one season just to settle in, but he's definitely showing up this year.
100%. Here's a stat on Twitter. Joe Scuts, the stats man. Balaz is currently on 36 goals. The most scored for a Bees player in the EPL/NIHL is Seski with 53. Balaz has 16 games to get 18 goals, and he will break the record. Charlie, can you see him doing that? 18 goals in 16 games.
I don't think he'll do it.
You gotta be negative, don't you?
I want to be honest. I don't think he'll get 18 and 16, but I think he'll have a very good, solid end to the season.
Yeah.
And I think Bees will push that playoff race the wire. I don't actually know where they are in the league.
I can check for you now. Give me 2 seconds. Bees
But,
are in the playoffs now, 2 points ahead of Raiders. Raiders have 1 game in hand. So
no
it's very
way.
tight.
No way does that Raiders team not make playoffs.
Yeah, they've
Crikey.
got to, man.
This title race is insane. Not
Playoff
title
race, you mean?
Playoff race will be
Yeah.
insane. How far is Solway ahead of Raiders?
Solway are currently on 34 points. So it's literally 34, 32, 30. So there's 4 points separating them from 7th to 9th. So that
I'll tell you what.
three are that is going to be a battle.
I'll tell you what. The teams I wouldn't want to play right now are them three, because they've got everything to play for in their right mind.
You're right.
And yeah, Bees and Slough, they're going to be a wagon for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Raiders, their squad, we saw it last night, Dan. I don't know what you thought, but they've got some sick players in that team. They've got some sick players. Their team now is settled without Jake Sylvester as well, Mr. Sue. A joke. No one will understand that, but I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Quickly, one more as well. A question we had on the start of the season on the Bees one was: is there going to be able to be a player who comes in and can score the amount of goals which Brendan Welcome did last season? Well, Balaz is only 13 goals off what Brendan Welcome got. So that is your answer. And Dan, again, give credit to you because you actually did call it and you said that was a very good signing. So fair play to that one. And the Bees come out of that weekend with a 4-point weekend. That is absolutely huge because they got no points last weekend. And as for Sheffield, it's just a bit disappointing again. And I think again for them, it's just about getting through the season. They'll be much improved next season. The Wildcats, they bounced back after their loss last week against the Hull Seahawks. They had a double home game. I think the game against Phantoms was rescheduled. So they played the Phantoms on the Raiders was rescheduled. But we beat the Phantoms 4-2 on the Saturday, and we beat the Raiders 6-5 in overtime. Eddie Bedbris with the overtime winner, and we were actually 4-2 down in that game, Dan. Really good resilience to come back from it because Raiders looked quite on top of us when they were ahead, didn't they?
Yeah, it was actually a really good time to tie it up, really, because it was like 3 minutes left in the second period,
and then we got another one.
When he scored that third goal, you obviously saw Raiders take the time out. They could tell that the pressure was on.
Yeah,
because you had a lot of zone time just prior to that, and you could sort of see the goal coming. So they sort of took the time out, thought, right, let's calm it down a little bit. Let's just see out the period. But I think Swindon it didn't change a thing. Swindon just carried on going, kept the zone time going, and they got that goal. And at the end of the day, 1 minute left in the second period to tie the game up is a really good time to tie it up because that changes the whole talk in the dressing room totally for both teams. So
100%.
It's an important goal.
It was actually a bonkers second period, wasn't it, Charlie? I come down, and I know you already knew the stat, but 30 shots on goal from Swindon in one period against Raiders. And it's not like Raiders had none. The Raiders had 19 shots in that period. So there's 49 shots on goal in that second period. And your stat earlier, Dan, you mentioned that Bristol had 17 shots in the whole game. Swindon nearly doubled that in one period against the Raiders. So it showed what type of game it was, Charlie. And give credit to both the goalkeepers because that could have been a much higher scoreline, couldn't it? They both made some phenomenal saves.
Yeah, Ethan James was really good that game.
Yeah.
The only goals we really scored past Ethan James were like across crease goals, tap-ins, Malas Weldy. What do you expect? Yeah, it was a cracking game, and the only thing I wish is if Malas, when he scores this banger, just sellies. Like, come
he doesn't know
on,
what
man.
to do, so he just goes
just
through.
To make context, on power play, we were struggling to get past Ethan James, lays it back to him, one tees, bar down, like screamer goal, and he just goes, like, I want to go, yeah! But I was really happy as well to see Gale and Colby play a big part. Colby was really good.
Colby, oh my goodness.
And then Gale turns up in OT, bang, goal, and then another shout out, Mr. Josh Shaw. bagging
Yes.
his first goal of the season.
Whee.
He's been getting a little frustrated, but it was coming. It was going to happen. And he got a nice goal. He drove the net, got the tap in. I believe it was a tap in, right?
Yeah.
Which is what you want.
Yeah.
They're the best goals. And nice little celly and got us back to 2-2. So congrats to Josh, Colby Towers, Rapadino, and Malazinski is the best player in the league.
I just wanted to touch on that, Dan. Colby has really come on the last few weeks, hasn't he? And I know a lot of people might just look at Colby's stats who don't watch the games and go, yeah, he's all right. He's a decent import. He is so important to our team, isn't he? Aaron talked about it in the stats talk on how he is crucial to our power play because when the puck doesn't, when the puck's loose, he's always first to it to retrieve the puck, and you go again with the power play. And I think that's been a massive reason why our power play success percentage has been so high this season, and just in general, his work ethic and the points are coming, aren't they, Dan? I think he got 6 points this weekend, including 3 or 4 goals.
Yeah, he's a really good skater, and he's really good at skating with the puck as well. Yeah. He uses his body really well. I think we saw a perfect example of it. Obviously, I know it was a loss, but in Hull for that equalising goal.
Oh yeah,
he used his body to get round. I think it was Balmer, or Bartholomew. It was one of the
two
top D men, and he used his body perfectly to get round him, protect the puck, and then get it across goal
to
the tap in. It was he used his body in every single way possible, and it works. And he's just so good on the edge of his skates, and he can just get around the corners. And he's just so quick.
The edging on his skates must be crazy because he is going at all types of angles. And I guess it helps that he's quite small, but you don't want to mess with him either because he is very strong for his height. So shout out to Colby Tower. Let's go on to the Milton Keynes Lightning, who also picked up a 4-point weekend, and they have stopped the away losing streak. So fair play to them against the Peterborough side as well. And they didn't have Ross Venus. But Rory Herman, oh my goodness. He gets his second Michigan goal of the weekend. He bags a hat trick as well. He gets a 6+3 on the weekend. A 3+6 on the weekend. To do 2 Michigans in one season, Charlie, there's still less than 20 games to go for him to get a third.
The podcast guest, man, that's pretty mental. We got the top point scorer in the league on a pod.
Yeah, he's just taken top scorer.
Shout out to Herman. We'll have to get him on at the end of the season.
Yeah.
He is tearing our league apart, and I'd like to think, whether it does or not, I've seen some talk on the NK supporters club in Facebook. What can we do to keep Herman next year? How much are we going to pay him? They're having all these things. But I really hope he gets his opportunity somewhere big because he is very skillful. To be the top point scorer in the league where Kieran Brown's bagged it 2 years in a row at the moment is no understatement. And the talent on show is showing now. And he without Venus stepped up. And he just got a natural instinct to get points, really.
Yeah. Dan, this is for Swindon. For that semi-final, this is the perfect way for Milton Keynes to go into it, isn't it? They've just broken that away streak by getting a big win. They're now 18-1. No, sorry, 19-1 on home ice. 19-1, and that loss was right at the start of the season against Hull. It's going to be a tough challenge, isn't it, for Swindon if they got any chance of beating them in Milton Keynes because they're on a roll at home, aren't they?
Yeah, it is always going to be tough, but just remember that 19-1 is in the league, not in the cup. So you never know. Ooh. You never know. But it will be an unreal game anyway. You think you're going into that game with a lead.
Yeah.
You're going to want to keep that lead. You just don't let a goal in about 13 seconds into the game, and you should be all right.
Yeah.
Try and get an early goal.
Yeah. we like conceding early at the moment, don't we, Swindon? I think we've conceded within the first minute in our last 3 games.
And that's the thing. Going into MK with 1 goal lead and having a track record of letting in goals like that is not really much of a lead if you think about it.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be all right though.
But you just got to be defensive at the same time as being offensive. That's the hard bit about it. And MK are going to be resilient. They're not going to stop. They're going to go for that goal early. get a tied game, and then they're like, "You think, boys, 0-0 now, normal home game, let's
Yeah.
go for it." And then, but who knows what's going to happen? I'm hoping I can get there.
Yeah, I know you're rushing from work. Charlie, you might actually be able to get there within time now, which is good. And I'll obviously be able to go up with Dad. Pardon me. But we're looking forward to that one. The other games, Bristol lost 4-2 at home on the Saturday. It was 3-2, and then they got an empty netter to the Tigers. And the Tigers actually got a 4-point weekend, which I think solidifies their playoff spot. Charlie, you were saying they're in that middle pack now. They're quite a lot of points off not getting playoffs, but they're quite a lot of points off Peterborough and Hull who are above them. So they're just basically just trying to find the lines ready for playoffs, aren't they? And it seems like they did all right this weekend, considering they were missing quite a lot of players and coach as well.
Yeah, Telford just do what Telford do. It's just grind out points.
Mm.
Brad Day, I'm thinking
Talking about
enjoyed that
Sellies.
one. I think he enjoyed that one. That's what you call a selly.
Yeah. For context, he was bench pressing his goal. I think he's done it a couple of times before, but they won in the shootout, so he started bench pressing his goal. Go on, Charlie.
Yeah, Telford are good. They're almost just kind of waiting for playoffs, pick up some momentum. Hopefully get some of their imports firing, which isn't Luca. Get them going for playoffs, and a very competitive game against Solway for potentially, depending on how the league goes, they could be in the same playoff group. So that'll be an entertaining battle between them two.
Yeah, it could be. The playoff race is certainly alive, and I said yesterday to Dad, it's going to be tough, whatever group you're in. We were originally going to be with Raiders and Telford, and I think it's Telford and Solway we're currently with now, but that's probably going to change going into it. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Another update quickly. We're going to try and get a podcast. Basically, I'm going on a trip to Canada to watch the Oilers, a 9-day trip. But I'm going to still try and record the podcast or try and make it so you can do it, Charlie, so we can still get an episode. So I thought I'd just put that out there. I'm going to be watching McDavid. So fingers crossed, if we do get to the final, hopefully the games for the finals don't get rescheduled or scheduled while I'm in Canada, because that would be a nightmare if I miss them. I can't cancel the trip now, and I'm absolutely gassed for this trip. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm looking forward to that, but we'll still try and get a podcast out for that. Lads, anything else to add to that? It's been a pretty good episode.
Yeah, I got something to add. I'd much rather watch Malazinski than McDavid.
Oh, here we go. Right, I think we'll end it. I think we'll end it with that. And have you got anything to add?
No.
Actually,
not for
quickly,
me, mate.
predictions for tomorrow, or when you're watching this, it will be for tomorrow. Predictions, go on.
I never predict Swindon to lose. That's a rule of mine. I am going to predict a 3-2 Swindon Wildcats win, which means we win 6-4 on aggregate.
Wow, and will that be an empty netter? Because I'm guessing they'd have to pull it at 2-2, wouldn't they?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, fair enough. And Dan, you were quite confident for the Wildcats.
I reckon it's going to be 8-7 win on aggregate to Swindon after penalty shootout.
That would be the worst. No, I don't want that to happen. I do not want that to happen. Overtime, I couldn't deal with, but penalty shots would be so cool. I remember we lost in the semi-finals against Sheffield, and that was absolutely horrible. I remember it was Valdick scoring. Was it Charlie in the overtime winner?
We conceded last minute of the
and
period.
then they won it in overtime. So that was heartbreaking. So I can't do another.
There could be tears shed on Thursday night.
There could be. But if Swindon do win, the silence in that barn will be, wow, that'll be something. But it's a mighty challenge, and if Swindon do manage to pull it off, that could be one of the wins of the season, if not the win of the season, and set up to be a Swindon Hull final if that's the case. I don't think anyone would have seen that coming. So yeah, but good luck to both teams. May the best man win. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you. Next week in our next episode. Peace.
Bye-bye.